What's going on, traders? Sandro O'Connell here with Pristine Capital, coming at you with yet another market recap video. It is December 27th, 2021. Please go ahead, click the like button on this video, and also subscribe to my channel. That way you don't miss any of my future videos. Price action, trades, market action for today. Let's talk about it. Before we do that, quick risk disclaimer: nothing in this video should be construed as investment advice or recommendations. Please follow your own trading plan and your own risk parameters. Last but certainly not least, do not YOLO your entire account to any one of my trades. Alright, let's dive into these box scores. So you'll notice on these box scores, I actually added in this ARK ETF. The reason being, and we'll go through this for today's session, is that I notice a lot of traders, they look at the S&P 500 or they look at the NASDAQ, and they use that as their barometer for whether they want to be risk on or risk off in the market. You know, if the market is up, most likely my stocks are going up. But I noticed after doing some testing is that most growth stocks, not most, really just this high growth group of stocks, high growth, high valuation, they're more closely tied to the ARK ETF rather than anything else. So I thought that was useful to add to our analysis. So box scores, we had S&P 500 up 1.42%. We had the NASDAQ QQQ finishing up 1.65%. Just an incredible performance. IWM small caps finished up 0.94%. And we had the Dow Jones finish up 0.99%. Now the ARK ETF, this was actually a pretty poor performer, down 1.68%. So if you notice, hey, most of my stocks didn't really do anything today, or most of my stocks went down, it's likely because you're investing in mostly companies that are highly correlated with this ARK ETF. So something to think about, something to consider for the future. Daily closing ranges were awesome for all these indices, aside from ARK, of course. And you can see S&P 500 closed basically at the top of its range. Same with NASDAQ, IWM, Dow Jones. Volatility, this was interesting. So the S&P 500, the volatility was actually higher for most of the day. And as we got this final push into the close, the volatility really just gave way. NASDAQ volatility actually increased 1.88%. So that is a negative divergence after seeing, this really nice day for the Qs. IWM small caps volatility declined, and Dow Jones, the volatility also picked up. So a negative divergence there. Breadth was great again. So S&P 500 91% advancers. Worst breadth was in the small caps with only 66% advancers. Then of course this ARK ETF, it's highly concentrated. There's only like 42 stocks in it, only 26% advancers. But that's really just a small subset of the market. Finviz heat map. So what I'm seeing into the end of the year, and keep in mind, we literally have 4 more trading days this year, teams. That's nothing. If you're like, I need to make my entire trading year these next 4 days, like that's, not really the right approach. I think, although today's action was great, fantastic day in the markets, for the next couple days, I think it's more so about just orienting yourself for the year to come and really just like, do I have the systems in place to succeed in 2022? If I looked at my trading journal from 2021, seen what mistakes I'm making, that sort of thing, am I mentally prepared for the coming year? I think that's what's most important. But for right now, hey, this heat map looked awesome today. Apple was up 2.3%, Microsoft was up 2.32%, Nvidia big day up 4.4%, Tesla big day, Facebook big day. The semiconductors group has really taken off and is showing very nice leadership. Sectors, just to reiterate, you can see the semiconductors group. This list, it's always going to be ranked in terms of momentum. And semiconductors, they are at the top of our momentum list, up 2.74% today. We had medical devices finish up 1.21%. Let's see what else was pretty strong. We had materials up 1.51%. Energy also up 2.19%, moving off the bottom of our list. Really the only areas of weakness that we saw, you can see this ARK ETF, biotech. So again, these highly aggressive areas of the market were selling off today. And then you can see emerging markets, e-commerce sold off a little bit, global autos. So yeah, select groups were selling off, but for the most part, we had some nice green action across the screen. Style factors. We had the momentum style factors, our top performer, up 1.79%, and quality up 1.67%. Pretty much every time you see these FANG stocks really ripping higher, that's when you know that quality style factor is going to be performing well. And to me, it just looks like a lot of these fund managers, you know, they had cash that they needed to allocate. And we could see, you know, from our weekend analysis, a lot of these active managers especially, you know, they pretty much took down a lot of their exposure in the last couple weeks. So yeah, they have more capacity to add, but it doesn't really look like they're willing to like stick their neck out and go invest in some of these more risky areas of the market into year end. And I don't blame them really. With a couple days left, you know, why would you? And then in terms of seasonality, take a look at where we're at. So we had the Santa Claus rally. We had been anticipating this for a couple weeks. Awesome that we got it. Typically what happens though is investors, when we're trading on the lows, they're like, there's no way I can invest in stocks. This is too crazy. They only go down. And as we get towards these highs where the risk reward's actually a bit lower, it's where everyone gets, you know, super interested, wants to be fully invested, that sort of thing. And I think just to further illustrate that, let me just pull up our SPY chart, and I'm going to add my Bollinger Bands on here. And this shows you when the market is, you know, overbought or oversold. So check this out. My blue bands, those are our Bollinger Bands right here. And what you can see is, you know, just a few short days ago, 1, 2, 3, 4 days ago, we were trading at this lower Bollinger Band where you can see, hey, my downside, you know, we're very oversold, likely pretty limited, at least in the very short term, and the upside's pretty significant. So I think it's important, like, were you allocating risk mostly here, or were you stopping out of risk here, and now are you allocating at the upper end of this band? So yeah, we've just had 1, 2, 3, 4. This is day 5 of really strong price action. You know, at this point, I'm not really like under the assumption that like, oh yeah, we're gonna have 5 more days like this. I think this was a great move, so I started taking profits throughout the session today. So let's go into some of those trades. We'll pull those up. Oh yeah, we are running this holiday sale for Pristine Capital, the trading community, and you can see this is running until mid-January. So definitely, if you're interested, take advantage of this. You know, these are just fantastic prices for being in our trading community. So definitely take a look at that if you've been watching these videos. All right, so here were my trades for the day. So what I wanted to do pretty early in the morning, you know, I noticed, hey, I'm in a lot of these stocks that are really closely correlated with the ARK ETF, and I also noticed I was heavily invested in options. So as we approach that upper Bollinger Band, for me, it's not like I'm going to go, okay, I'm short in the market here. What I do want to make sure that I accomplish is I want to slide out of some of my options exposure, because that's where you can face, you know, big risk in your portfolio if you're just loaded up with options and then there's a little blip in the market. So I closed out my CrowdStrike January 215 calls for 1140. I paid 915 for those. And I closed those out at 933. CrowdStrike, you know, that's why it's good to sell into strength, because CrowdStrike, for instance, the stock was up about 2% in the morning. You know, within the first couple of minutes, really nice move. Then by the end of the day, it closed down 0.89%. So this one was good to just sell into that strength. In the morning, I closed out my Expedia March 18th, 175 calls for 1762. I had paid 1625, and this was really just me taking off some options exposure. And I already have Airbnb on as well. So I was like, you know what, let me cut some of this off. Expedia ended up having not bad, you know, not a very bad close at all. This is definitely one that I am interested in revisiting, probably just with some common stock, or maybe if it consolidates a little bit, it'll definitely interest me a little bit more. And then I closed out my Unity February 18th 140 strike calls for 18 bucks. I had paid $14.90 for those, and you know, I just put here converting this to common stock. So again, you know, it's not like, oh, I'm bearish on Unity now. The Unity chart looks great. I just wanted to slide out of some options exposure. And this one actually closed above the 20-day moving average today, which is definitely a good thing. And so on the stock side over here, did a little bit of trading. I got long Vuzi common shares for 966. And I put here breaking news trade. There was some breaking news that they got a partnership with Verizon. And this stock looked like, hey, this could really short squeeze, you know, had some promise. But those buyers couldn't really take control. So I closed this one out for a small winner at 974. I paid 966. And Vuzi, sure enough, it basically gave back everything. So I'm glad I closed out a little bit. At one point, this was actually trading up above 10 bucks. And at the time, I was like, I should probably take a target on this. And I chose not to because I was like, hey, if the squeeze starts, you know, I want to be fully in it. And then it started coming back in. So for me, next time I'm in this, I think a general rule of thumb, if you're considering taking a profit target, you may as well do it, even if it's a very small profit target. Now, the reason why is because if the stock keeps moving, so long as you kept most of your position on, it's not like you're going to be upset. But if the stock comes in, then you'll be like, hey, I at least took a target. So this game of trading, you know, this profession, it's all about keeping your mental state in a good place. So anything that you can do to prevent like negative self-talk, anything like that, just to keep yourself in this state of equilibrium, it's always good to just go ahead and do that. So one of those things is taking some profits. Because like, for instance, I took off a bunch of this options exposure. Like I pointed out earlier, if the market pulls in a little bit as we start the new year, I'm not going to kick myself. But if the market keeps going up, I'm also not going to kick myself. So it's just very important to keep that equilibrium. And then finally, I entered some Unity common shares. And I had put earlier, I wanted to convert my calls to common stocks. That's exactly what I did. So yeah, overall, nothing too crazy on the trading side for me. I didn't want to shake things up too much. But yeah, overall, a solid day, and I'm happy that the market ended up closing up so much. That was pretty fantastic. Let's take a look. I'm going to pull up our VigTech options order flow. Let's check this out. Close this out. And let's pull this up right here. That moment when you lose your VigTech. Oh, here it is. Let me see. So I'm just going to roll over to our options order flow. And let's check out our options races. Today's combined flows. Boom. Let's see how much Tesla had today. Yeah, and I do believe Tesla had a pretty good day as well. Let's see what Tesla did. Yeah, not bad. Looks like it basically got held up at this resistance level, this trend line over here, though. Yeah, Tesla had... Nice, still going. Okay, so about 3.38 billion of order flow for Tesla, which is pretty normal. That's not really abnormal at all. Amazon, SPY, Apple. Yeah, and Coin. Coin doesn't really show up very often on this metric. Let's see Coin. Coin, when I looked earlier, it was showing some nice price action. Yeah, very good action for Coin. Trading up at 280, up 4.52% today. And I did see some calls go up for this BITO, which is the Bitcoin Futures ETF. And let's talk about this Bitcoin action. I was on a Twitter space earlier where we were talking all about the price action in Bitcoin. I think what's good about what's going on here is we were in this balance area between about 45K and up here about like 51K. And now we're testing the upper end of this balance range. And you can see prices being accepted up here. This is great. We're above the 20-day moving average. And the RSI is above 50. Today I was looking to see if we could just punch out of this range and really just, you know, clear out above it. We're not really getting that. So this is more of just like a consolidation. We kind of squatted. We weren't able to get the breakout. So this is going to be something I'm watching pretty closely. It does look like there's going to be a directional move in Bitcoin pretty soon. You know, if you're a bull, you certainly do not want to see this just retreat back into this balance area. So I think in the next day or two, we're probably going to see that moment of truth for Bitcoin. There was a headline today. You know, speaking of Bitcoin, now as we flip over to Ethereum, Shaquille O'Neal is launching an NFT line. So that was just insane to see that. Pretty random, but yeah. Okay, let's check out our TradeScape before we wrap. Facebook, really nice activity for Facebook. And this one, I was very tempted to take a long entry. I was just trying to be disciplined and make sure, hey, don't just like FOMO into a bunch of stuff, the upper Bollinger Band. But this one will definitely be on my radar tomorrow. Some December 31st, so very short-term stuff, 345s, 350s. January 350s, December 31st, 347 and a half. So this is a lot of very short-term stuff, to be honest. This is some February 350s. Where did Facebook go out today? Yeah, this is a pretty good move for Facebook. Up 3.26% up to 346. Another thing to just keep in mind, I completely forgot about this. So this is another thing, like SPY, look at this move. Like this is pretty incredible stuff, right? Like, yeah, awesome action. Finally getting the breakout. But another reason why it's pretty difficult to trade in the end of the year is because you know almost everyone's on vacation. And it's tough to really like make a whole lot out of these moves. Like the relative volume today, actually not that bad. It was 0.73, so that's not too bad. Earlier in the day, it was like a 0.5. Yeah, nice clean breakout for SPY. Can't deny that. So yeah, looking good. Let's see. So we had Facebook, Nvidia, mostly calls going up. And it's so funny because when this thing starts falling like a rock, like when it's correcting, then it's like suddenly everyone's like, oh, gotta buy puts on these semis. And then when they start like coming out, then it's like, all right, flip to only calls again. So let's see. We have Nvidia, Tesla, some calls going up for December 31st. Let's see if we find anything interesting on here. AMD, this was a really good performer. One of our members had a nice trade in AMD today that they closed out. Yeah, more stuff for December 31st, some January, some February. Got this 150 strike. Yeah, very nice move for AMD. So yeah, these semiconductors, they continue to act very well. Let's see a firm on here. Let's see the activity for the VIX. Yeah, and a lot of VIX puts going up. That's very interesting. Very interesting. So let's leave off with that. With that being said, that about does it for this market recap video. Hope you all had a great session, and I will see you all tomorrow.